Alright guys, such comic again. I hope you're doing well and enjoying your day so far. ZooMaa reveals that LA Thieves fumbled this whole rostermania situation pretty badly, claiming that with Alluka getting interest from 6 different teams when he was on the Omen Brooklyn roster, by the time Thieves decided actually no, we do want to try and sign this guy as a potential replacement to Kenny at some point in the future, it was far too late and he'd already signed the deal with FaZe. Did Alluka make a mistake signing that contract too early if he doesn't get a starting roster opportunity? And what did Thieves do to mess up this whole situation, given that many of us could have said it could have been pretty obvious to sign a promising AR player when he was available? Very much enjoyed your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. I'd greatly appreciate it. Plenty to get into. Starting with a couple of challenges updates really. ZooMaa was stepping into some Stallions black scrims against Stallions red and unfortunately didn't have the best outcome, but it was entertaining. Nonetheless, the final score was ZooMaa's team 0, Stallions red 6, and well, they played quite a few maps, so these were some of the timelines. It didn't exactly go to plan, but you know, all good. It was of course ZooMaa stepping in for Symbols and Ryan, Oka, Swag, Checked and ZooMaa. That was the team. So yeah, they played against of course the Stallions red team. Now with Hyde in the roster, there's no more legends as we have seen over these last couple of days. That was entertaining. The other drama and challenges was this. So this is one of the teams that qualified for the European Elite, and they were calling themselves the OpTic Academy, even spelt OpTic. So it's like, I mean, come on, this probably isn't going to end particularly well. Hex then replies to them and says, change your name, right? So understandably, he's not very happy about these random guys pretending they're representing OpTic. I believe they've come to some sort of solution here. Apparently they were in Bantz's chat saying they had permission from Scump and Hex to run this, but of course that was not the case. And then Hex did this tweet and then it got deleted. So, and Krona I think confirmed that they have changed their name. I'm not sure what it's to. We'll see if it's anything else that other teams might not be particularly happy with, but I thought that was rather funny. There was also a bit of drama in the European Elite on cheaters. Now actually even on that team, during the Dope Check show yesterday, we had a quick look at some clips from this Krona guy, whether he's a bit dodgy or not. But there's also this team that qualified, this squad Night Vibes, a Saudi team. And well, this guy ReeaL, a couple of years ago, there was this clip that's been doing the rounds again today from CDL_Arab. And this is, well, basically they're on Discord here in like a group channel thing. And this is ReeaL's stream that he's like live streaming. And you can see that he pulls up the engine. I mean, you can see it says engine owning. He pulls up the cheat menu basically and he's playing around with it. So a couple of years ago, this ReeaL guy, it seems, got exposed for cheating, right? So the translation's as follows, but it seems like this guy was exposed. I don't know what happened to him as a result. But anyway, he's back, right? So he's officially back and he's qualified for the Elite. So yeah, we'll see, because cheaters always going to be a talking point. We saw Havoc say earlier today that he'd be interested in even returning to the Pro League if cheaters are everywhere in ranked and still causing major issues, then he would be keen to compete a little bit further on. Now, talking of challenges, because we're certainly going to discuss the Alluka stuff in a second, Capsidol has not yet been looked at, and we're going to talk about the buyout involved for Alluka as well. Temp says the buyout for the players on Bush. We know what TJ's buyout is. It was $2,000. Surge tried to pay 1, but, you know, it was 2, basically. Apparently that is also the buyout for the other guys as well. So if you want to go and get Capsidol, and again, it's interesting because Capsidol, he's had his stints in the Pro League. He's been a solid player, but a player that people would probably say, oh, well, you know, a bit of a known quantity. If you bring him in, you know what you're going to get. He's not going to, you know, turn things around dramatically for a team and all this. But Temp is convinced that he is the best player in challenges right now. I mean, this is a clip actually against Alluka. Alluka's sitting here 27 in 19. He's sitting down here on Scar. Cap has a feeling he's there and he flies around the corner and slams him. So we've seen many clips like this from Capsidol in recent times. He is the playmaker, the key figure in many respects of that Bush Gaming team's success. As Don was saying last night, Prolu is running the sub, but really he's an AR player. Fire is an AR player. Spart is an AR player. Capsidol is absolutely doing it all, and Bush are arguably the best team in challenges as a result. I think many might have said a player, let's say, like Neptune a couple of years ago. He had some interesting stints in the Pro League, most of which were not especially good. He had some highlights, some upsides. We've certainly seen that with Capsidol in games like Vanguard. That clip, what was it, on Berlin, still lives pretty rent-free. But he had a couple of stints in the Pro League. He's been in and out of the league. But I think the argument is that Neptune maybe on games like BO6, BO7, just a much stronger player than he was on, let's say, a game like a Vanguard or even a Cold War, for example, for Neptune. The same could apply to Capstone, right? The idea is that given that we have seen players that have had stints come back and have even better stints, that also might apply to Capstone as well. So I think it's a little bit of a surprise to me right now that Cap doesn't seem to, especially given the fact that his buyout is very low, have an awful lot of interest, although I think this is actually a good thing for the Bush guys to try and keep hold of him. But let's talk about this Alluka drama. So on the 29th of December, they confirmed FaZe that Alluka was in. Now, this was rumoured for a couple of weeks before, ever since the Seconds Cup, where Alluka dominated and effectively became a pro on that one day, which is remarkable, but also understandable given the situation. There was lots of interest in Alluka. There was talk at the time from, it was Rafi who said, there were 6 teams that were interested in Alluka, some of which going to be further down the league for sure. There was clearly a bit of a bidding war for Alluka, and even ZooMaa says here in a second that it was $20,000, pretty much, the figure that they eventually settled on to sign Alluka and buy him out of that team. Now, that's a lot of money for a player who is very unproven and effectively made waves based on one day of action. But is it still understandable given there was lots of interest in this player? Very exciting prospect. FaZe arguably kind of needed a player like this to put some pressure on Drazah and the team at large, and also what could be a very promising future. So I think for FaZe, this made a ton of sense from every angle. Now, 20k you might think is a bit steep, but I think it could well, especially if they've got to pay him the minimum salary anyway, 50k to, let's say put him on the bench, then what difference does the extra 20k really make? If it's a good decision to have him on the bench for 50k, then paying an extra 20k buyout and making that 70k total investment still might be a good way to go. So good business out of Rafi for sure. But earlier today we have talked about Neum to Thieves being a very likely possibility. That was all the rumours of last night. That is going to be happening because they effectively don't want to miss out on another potentially promising AR player that they could well need. Now, Octane revealed, while this whole Alluka thing was going on, that he had tried to speak to Thieves and tried to potentially speak to Rafi about making something happen there for Thieves. Because, look, if Alluka to FaZe makes sense, it also makes sense for Thieves. Now, I don't know if it made sense to quite the same extent, just because Alluka's playstyle is different to Neum's. Neum is a slower AR. Alluka is like a faster AR. Maybe not radically slow, but I think my point is that Alluka is a better replacement for Drazah alongside Abuzah than Alluka would be a replacement for Kenny alongside Scrap. Not to say that that would be bad. I mean, you'd probably get more kills, but it's not really like Thieves need more kills necessarily. They need someone to play the objective right now, which is proving a bit of a challenge for them after Ghosty and Envoy have left, I think. So that's the Thieves difficulty. And look, I'm not saying Scrap and Alluka couldn't work, but in some respects they're kind of similar, heavy slaying AR players that play at a fast pace. That would be a pretty devastating duo, but also I think Alluka potentially for Draz, given that Abuzah is like a slightly more methodical AR, might make a bit more sense. So I think Alluka on FaZe, to me, makes a bit more sense than Alluka on Thieves, but equally, if Thieves were to have gone and got him, then FaZe wouldn't have him. They wouldn't have that potential advantage in their back pocket they are currently enjoying. Especially if what ZooMaa says is true, that actually no, Thieves wanted this guy, they just came to the party too late. By the time that Octane had, I don't know, tried to pull some strings behind the scenes, he'd spoken to Scrap, and Scrap had told him, no, we don't need this guy, what are you talking about? He's played one Challengers Cup, he's not even any good. Then apparently they decided, but presumably around about Christmas time, okay, we actually do want to get this guy, let's make a move. And by the time they went to go speak to him, it was too late, the deal was done, he'd signed with FaZe.
He said it, but it was more though. It was more than like 5 to 10K. Like it was more than that. But I also think that him having so many teams after him was a big thing. Was a big factor.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Right? Like 100%. You have like multiple teams who want to pick you up. The people are dropping offers, and you in order to get them, like, you got to keep raising the bar, right? Like, you got to keep raising, and certain teams are probably willing to spend a certain amount of money. Right? Like depending on the player, sure. Right? So,
someone said 20K. Rafi said.
Rafi said 20K. Rafi said that?
Well, that's what chat's saying. That's what chat's saying.
Yeah. Listen. I don't know, but yeah, pretty much like close, chat, close. You know what I mean? Like it was close to that, from my understanding. Like it was close to that. You know, and to be honest with you, I actually think that's not that bad of a price. Like if you think about it, if a lot of teams wanted him, I don't think that's that of a price.
Yeah, for like a #1 pick,
or it's a bench spot.
It could be a bench spot.
It could be a bench spot. They're doing what FaZe is doing.
I mean, the teams that have the money, realistically, that don't feel like 100%.
Well, did you know?
Should be doing
Ray, did you know that Thieves tried to get Alluka? They tried to get him.
That makes sense.
But did you know what happened when they hit him up?
No.
He was already signed, Ray. He was already signed. Have a good day, Ray. Huh? Have a good day, all right? You take care now. All right.
Could you argue Alluka made a mistake in this situation? Should he have held off, potentially, for Thieves to come knocking? Now, of course, he wasn't to know that that was going to happen, and even if it did happen, would that have been the better call? As I say, Alluka to Thieves wouldn't have been a bad decision for sure. I don't know if it made quite as much sense to me as Alluka to FaZe. I think there's also a great chance that he ends up on FaZe, but you might, on the starting team, but you might argue that Thieves are more likely to make a change for Kenny than FaZe are to make a change for Drazah. I think that's possible. I think it's possible they make changes for both as the season goes on, but also I think that Drazah is in a uncharacteristic slump of performance. I would expect him to get out of it. Whereas for Kenny, it's been a longer slump, shall we say, and it's less likely maybe that he gets out of it, as it were. So there's something to say on that. It's a little bit like when OpTic went for Mercules, and Mercules was nearly already a player for a different team at that time. Now, OpTic moved swiftly enough that that wasn't too much of a threat, but it was possible, right? After Major 3 in last year's game, Black Ops 6, when there were offers for Mercules, Toronto wanted to keep him on a bench spot. Cloud9 were very interested in signing him. There was maybe even other offers as well, but Cloud9 had a 6-figure offer on the table to Mercules, right, to sign him onto that team. And he was very tempted, understandably, to take it, right? I mean, he's played one tournament. He's now getting offered 6 figures to go play for a pro team. That was understandably tempting, but obviously he was getting told by some people, understandably, look, OpTic are out there, they're looking a little bit shaky, they might come knocking. And look, if Zinni and the OpTic guys had have waited another couple of days before making that phone call, it's quite possible that Mercules and this whole OpTic story would never have happened, and he would have ended up on Cloud9 or something, and we wouldn't have had this story. So that was important to move quickly, and the fact that maybe Thieves recognized, okay, we probably do need to do this, but by the time they did, they were too late, goes to show that, yeah, the decision makers at that organization might not be fully aligned. Is it the right call now to say, okay, we missed out on one, let's go and get another? That is another good question, but very much interested your thoughts, as always, in the comments section below. Speaking of Mercules, just one final thing. Mercules' first tournament win was alongside Dashy. Dashy's first one was with Scump, and Scump's first win was with Aches. The same is true for HyDra. He goes through Crim6 and then to Aches. And then all of these other players, Simp, aBeZy, Huke, Shotzzy, their first win was with Clay, and Clay's first win was with Aches. So that's quite an impressive little family tree that he's put together there. But very much interested your thoughts on all of this stuff in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care. And I'll see you next time.
Does Neum look like Kenny? Like on some real shit? Do they look like each other? They kind of look like each other. Like the facial structures, like the facial features. No, guys, don't make it weird. Like, don't make it about, you know what I'm saying? Don't make it one. Like just the facial structure. Yeah, they actually kind of look like each other. There's no way you don't see that. There's no way. Wow, bro, you can't even be, bro. You can't. You see how they just twist it, Benjay? You see how they just fucking twist it? You see how they're trying to make it seem like that I'm Bro, look, bro, you're telling me they don't look like each other a little bit? Benji, are you gonna be a scared pussy too and not be honest? Are you gonna be a scared?
I'm saying this one. Enjoy your fucking bad PR.
They look like what? Man, this is some bullshit, bro. This is some fucking bullshit. PR, so nobody sees it. So nobody sees it.
Tom, can we talk about something?
Somebody, they see it.